I was talking to judges about optimizing their brains for better decision-making, creativity, and health, because when somebody signs on to being a Superior Court judge, dependency court is not really what they fantasize about. And they're really overwhelmed and slightly traumatized by hearing the really challenging stories of parents who are at risk or losing their children, mostly due to lack of education, poverty, and maybe some addictions, but really lack of education and poverty. Addictions become a really reasonable solution to trying to feel better. And there were these 3 parent allies who are speaking to the judges to help them understand the reality of most of the parents who are in dependency court judges. And parent allies are parents who lost their kids to dependency court and then got them back because they did everything right. And they're amazing people because in order to do that, they work really hard to learn a whole bunch of things that they didn't know. And I've been blessed to know many of them. And I find them just phenomenally inspirational as people. And they heard my talk. And so they came up to me and they started telling me stories about not eating before court or not eating for a day before court. And I was just like, if I hadn't eaten for a day, I couldn't understand a cartoon, let alone a judge telling me that I'm going to lose my children and they're going to go into foster care. And these amazing people just started telling all their friends. And like that day in December of 2014, I got inspired that like I really needed to write a book so that I didn't have to be in the room for people to get help. And so I thank Natasha for helping me do that. And now Natasha is going to introduce you to Ambrosia, who was one of the first people to read the book and endorse it.
Thank you for sharing that story, Kristen. It is really my pleasure to introduce Ambrosia Eberhardt. She supports parents entering Child Protective Services and achieving the skills and sobriety needed to regain custody of their children, and uses her voice and experience to influence policy and law changes that impact the population she serves. Ambrosia co-founded a local advocacy group called Spokane Parent Advocacy Network, is a member and prior facilitator of the Washington State Parent Ally Committee, and is currently involved in taking this work internationally to support the creation of an international parent advocacy network. Ambrosia empowers people to walk through complex situations and navigate the child welfare system successfully, using her own story to inspire hope in others. She teaches hope classes and champions all of the concepts embedded in the Protein for All program. And Ambrosia, we're just really so thankful and grateful that you're able to share some of your day with us.
Thank you for that introduction. I guess what I would like to say about Protein for All is when the first time I seen Dr. Allett present at Spokane Juvenile Court, it made complete sense to me that parents I'm working with need access to food. I mean, they're in poverty. They are in crisis on the worst day of their life, losing their children, finding out their children are more than likely not coming home that day. And that, and they're reading this court petition that says, all the things they're doing wrong, some of it true, and maybe they can grab onto a thing or two in it, and a bunch of it that is just a lot of other people's opinions, and that like threatens to be everything that people think about them, right? In Spokane, my best friend and I, we kind of implemented the Parents for Parents program, and through that, we started, well, first there was this huge process to getting food allowed in court, because there's this sign that says no food or drink allowed. And so once that process was figured out, and it was quite a process, and with a commissioner like championing it to change, we were allowed to bring protein shakes and protein bars into the court. They were often donated by me or my best friend, Heather. And then other stakeholders in the system started grasping the idea and seeing how it was changing parents' responses. It was contributing to them being more proactive. And lawyers were even saying like they were spending less time with parents in complete crisis mode. and are able to like help them get into the stance of what do you need to do to get your kids back. We also like put this process in place where we were collecting data on parents, and I started realizing like really painful things from parents. So we would ask them things like, when did you last eat? And, you know, oftentimes it would be the day before. They rushed out the door. They grabbed some coffee, right? And they made it to court. And then we would ask, what did you eat? And oftentimes it was sugar and the day before. Sometimes it was 3 or 4 days before. And it broke my heart. And then we would ask, did you bring food with you? And that was often a no, because it's not allowed in the courthouse for one, right? And then we started gauging, like, is the parent emotional? Is the parent withdrawn? Is the parent anxious? Or is the parent engaged? And connecting that to whether or not, when the last time they ate. And what our data showed is there was a huge connection in those kind of, lack of a better word, negative emotions and them not eating recently. And so, you know, with giving them protein shakes or bars, or at times maybe it was, you know, a little package of nuts or whatever like was donated to us, right? We started seeing parents in probably about a half an hour of eating the protein, like just in a better spot. And court for parents when they first are coming to court can last anywhere from an hour to 5 hours, or I've seen some parents there all day. So we also started being mindful of maybe a little bit of sugar, you know, to include in that. You know, maybe it was a little fruit snack, maybe it was a fruit and nut bar, and some water, right? And I can tell you that I didn't realize the full impact of offering food to parents until probably a year, maybe a year and a half into it. And because I'm an addict in recovery, I go to 12-step meetings, and I would sometimes see parents there and they're like, oh, you're that lady that gave me food on the worst day of my life. Do you have any idea what that meant? And I was like, well, my assumption is like it helped you feel better. And they were like, no, you treated me like a human being. You offered me food. And that kind of gesture in a court was like the best thing ever. And so it was like, well, where do I even go? Like I would tear up, you know, and it was sometimes those parents that said, I hadn't eaten 3 days and you gave me a goodie bag to go. And I use that at my visitation with my kids. You know what I mean? And so we got handouts that Dr. Allett helped create. And I think maybe Natasha was in on it. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but we started giving those to parents too when we were giving them the protein bars or shakes. And at first we were just using protein bars, and I learned that parents coming into the system, they're about 70% like having drug or alcohol issues, and sometimes with that comes like dental issues. And so that's why we were very intentional about shakes as an alternative, because it felt really horrible to be like, oh, we don't have an option for you. Or sometimes people have like stomach issues and stuff like that, and maybe the shake is the better alternative for them. From that, I also then took on the challenge that is on those cheat sheets we were giving out, because I have post-traumatic stress disorder. Parents that come into the child welfare system, if they didn't come in with a mental health issue or trauma, they're most certainly leaving with lifelong trauma, right? Being disrupted from having your children in your life for a period of time. Children come back with long-lasting issues from that. And parents also, like my kids, when they turned 18, my youngest two, I was like, woohoo, I can never get CPS involved again. That was a huge, like, that's how long, and my case was 20 years ago, and so I know that protein takes me from the part of my brain where I can't think through solutions. I sit in doubt with myself. And so I used to be a parent ally that couldn't do presentations in front of people. I would shake. And while that is, I still have some of that internally, oftentimes I'm told, I had no idea you were so nervous. It just seems so normal for you to present now. And it's because I'm mindful in feeding my brain the protein it needs and teaching other parents too. We also, in our Hope class, would teach parents the importance of bringing protein to their visits. We taught them that cheese sticks work for kiddos, but they don't work so much for our brains as adults. And we also taught them that, like, if it's their kid's birthday and they go with a birthday cake and that's all they bring, that can have their kid be like so excited to see them, eat the birthday cake, not balance it with protein, right? So be mindful to bring some protein. Kid gets really sad when the visit's over, they go back to the placement family and they crash. And we would never want that to look like the child is regressing from seeing their parents. So we would highlight the importance of protein and, teach parents, it can even be as simple as boiled eggs or little jerky snacks or different gas station burrito. Like that is okay if you are a parent that is homeless, and that's what you can bring. They're portable, they're easy, you can microwave them after you buy them, you can buy them with food stamps. Often the parents we serve in this capacity are really poor and sometimes homeless. Well, one more thing. Yeah. So this weird time, I was like at this advisory committee for the program I was at the time, and I'm sitting there, I have 10 minutes on the schedule to present, and for whatever reason, I'm talking about protein, and that across cultures, it is appropriate in showing love and care by offering food. And there happened to be a foundation lady there from a foundation, and she's like, what? Oh, we're getting you protein. And I don't know what I said that like snapped her into honing in on one piece that I said about that. But yeah, then we got funded for a year for protein bars, and like it happened, she made it happen. And that's part of my quote, I think, on endorsing this book, something about how no matter what culture you're in, we celebrate and love through food.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.